unboxing video of the new Warhammer Underworlds Starter Set. So if you're unfamiliar with this, this is unlike Shadespire and Night Vault, Dire Chasm, Beastgrave. This is meant to be a more stripped down basic starter set that presumably will not change out from season to season. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see this sold in places like Target or Barnes & Noble, especially since they have this seal of excellence from the Dice Tower. Obviously trying to appeal to a wider audience, which I think is a really good thing. I'm excited to see Warhammer Underworlds grow. So it's about the same, it's the same size as the existing boxes. It looks the same, it's got the same info on the back. So let's go ahead and crack it open. The first thing I notice here is actually about the box. If you've gotten any of the previous Underworld boxes, you know that they're pretty sturdy and actually, like, as far as boxes go, very well made. This is a much cheaper box, a much more basic cardboard box. It's not thick, sturdy cardboard like normal. It's just kind of like a flimsier paper, which is fine. I like the nice boxes, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. All right. So first thing we have is, it looks like all the tokens and the boards all shrink wrapped together. So off to the side. The rule book. Learn to play. And here are the models. So these are the repackaged, easy to build models from the start of Soul Wars. So first we have the Glaive Wraith Stalkers models that have been repurposed as a new warband for Underworlds. So even if you're not starting out here, you got new warbands to play with. And then here we have the Stormcast in it. They're the crossbow guys from the new Soul Wars ones. Again, it's a repurposed, easy to build. So these are all push fit. Then we have the dice. And the card decks. So go ahead and take a little bit closer look at each of these things individually. All right, so let's start off with the tokens and the boards. So first thing I notice is that we only have the 5 objective markers instead of the, I think it goes up to 9 on the regular sets for playing multiplayer, but since this is a starter set, presumably they're trying to strip it down and make it more basic. So we just have the 5, which is all you use in one-on-one games. We got, you know, the move, guard, charge, we got the glory points, we got the trackers, the wound tokens, no deadly hexes, it looks like, and no, there's nothing like from Shadespire, like the shard falls. And then we have the boards. You get 2 boards, just like in the regular starter sets. I'm pretty sure these are actually reprints of the Shadespire ones, because it's the Mirwell and the Shaishan Star Dial, and I forget the names of the other ones, but these are good boards, so it's good to have them back, especially since they're rotated out with Dire Chasm. So I don't think this one came in the starter set for Shadespire. This is, I'm pretty sure, an older one though. This might have been a Night Vault expansion. It just looks like they have rotated back in some of the ones from Night Vault and Shadespire that they rotated out with Dire Chasm. Again, considering this is a starter set that is presumably meant to last for many years, I imagine that these boards will not rotate out with Season 5 after Dire Chasm. Another thing, like I said, you notice that there's no hazardous spots on here at all. There's blocked, and that's it. So it looks like that the hazardous tokens have not been factored into the starter set game. All right, and doing the models next. Like I said, these are the easy to build ones that have existed since Soul Wars. So they're just repackaged. They're not new sculpts, which is fine though, because they're new to Underworlds. So this is a lot like the Dreadfane expansion that came out at places like Barnes & Nobles. It was meant to be a standalone game, but the warbands could be used in Underworlds at large, and they did release them on their own later. So we got the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, and the Stormcast Eternals. So Nighthawk, Stormcast, it's very Soul War centric, works for Underworlds. This seems to be set in Shadespire and not in Beastgrave at all. So it works. It's the, undead versus the paladins, basically. Like I said, nothing new here. This is a new color plastic. The Stormcast have come in blue for a while, all the Underworlds ones. I think these were gold when they released individually in the easy to build sets, and then these were like a teal. So it is new colored plastic compared to the easy to build ones, but besides that, it's exactly the same. Now we move on to the cards. Another thing interesting with the starter set here is that there's no universals or anything. You just get the decks for the Storm of Celestis and the Drippers Wraith Creepers, and it's all Warband specific cards. So again, you don't have to worry about anything becoming unbalanced later in the game that's going to be cycled out, because it's Warband specific, which never gets cycled out unless they become restricted. So let's take a look. So one of the first things, I know this has been noticed before, is that the layout of the cards have changed. So you can see now, for example, on this objective card, you got the art, you've got, it says objective up here. It's got the Warband symbol, the fact that it's an objective card, the symbol, and then down here, it tells you how many glory points it is worth. Instead of having two glory point symbols on here, it's just the one glory point symbol with the number. I haven't had a chance to look at what these cards actually do. I don't really want to go over that here in this video. Just quick overview. So they're all this new style with the wider art that can take up the whole space, which is nice. You want to give the art room to breathe. That's just looking at some of the older style cards. And I did like how some of them had to be more creative with, because they only had this space to work on the art, so they had to fade it out on the edges. And they did sometimes have some creative ways of doing that, some stylish ways, but lots of times it was also just kind of like a circle. So here we get to see, all of it. So all the art is, again, specific just to these two warbands, which makes sense because they're warband specific. So you get all the ploys and, it says right here too, Gambit ploy, upgrade. You get all the ploys and upgrades that you need to run this deck on its own, straight out of the box with no additional cards. Let's just take a quick look at the warband itself. So you got Draken Celestis, who is the leader. So I got the crossbows. So you can see the layout on this is a little bit different too. This is now up top instead of at the bottom. And then the symbols are slightly different. Those two are the same pretty much, but the symbol for how many hexes is slightly different. Besides that, it seems to be pretty much the same. You got the inspiration, what you need to do there. So it looks like they inspire when an attack action succeeds with their crossbow, not with their close combat attacks. And then you got the Griffhound, which is nice that this guy's actually being factored into something now. I do like, this throws me off a bit. I admit, it throws me off a bit because I'm used to this being down here, and I looked at this and I immediately thought this was the damage, and I'm like, 4 damage. So 2 damage, 3 range. Looks like all their great bows are the same. Their close-up attacks are all slightly different. When they inspire, let's see, so 3, 1, 4, it's the same. Crossbow stays the same. Get a little bit more damage on their close-up attack. Their great bows can also only be used once per phase, so you can't let it sit back and shoot. Makes it a bit more balanced, especially for a starter warband. So his defense goes up slightly. And so it looks like the crossbow attacks are never going to change. Those don't improve. It's just some of them, their defense, and then their up front attack. They also do get, let's see, this fighter is holding an objective, you can reroll 1 dice in this fighter's defense rolls. If this fighter is holding an objective, this fighter cannot be driven back. Plus 1 dice to this fighter's attack action if this fighter is holding an objective. So the 3 Stormcasts all get better holding objectives when they're inspired. Alright, and the Wraith Creepers. So again, it's the same style. They got the art that goes across the whole card. I always liked the Glaive Wraith models, but they're not the best in Age of Sigmar, so it's nice to see them. Hopefully they're good in this and they can actually get some use. So I'll do a bit more of an actual review of these in my written review. Maybe I'll point out some that stand out to me, but again, let's look at the fighters themselves. So, Viceroy Dreper, he is the leader. 3, 2, 4, range 2, smash 2, 2 damage. Can move through blocked and occupied hexes, must end in an empty hex. And inspires when an enemy fighter is within 2 hexes of this fighter. So it's similar to the other Night Haunt Warbands. So his move goes up, and he becomes more accurate. It's pretty good. You can also reroll 1 dice in the attack action roll for the... that's pretty good. That's actually really good. Oh, the artwork changed. That is nice. Look at that. Uninspired, inspired. Did it do that over here? Oh, it did. That is a nice touch. That is something I always wanted them to do. I like that. 3, 1, 3. 4, 2, 3. So moves faster, and also he gains cleave. These guys get pretty good when they get inspired. Alright, Death Beat. After an opponent's power step, choose 1 friendly fighter and push that fighter 1 hex towards the closest enemy fighter. Free sidestep. That is pretty good. So they all get faster. And snare. So one of them gets cleave, one of them gets ensnare. Only the leader gets the reroll. The drummer gets better when he inspires a death beat. After an opponent's power step, choose up to 2 friendly fighters and push each chosen fighter 1 hex towards the closest enemy fighter. So 2 free side steps. This is actually, I'm really excited about this. Seems like a good warband. So I'm not going to take the dice out, but one thing really quick. It's just your standard attack and defense dice. There are no magic dice in here. Neither of these warbands have magic, so that kind of makes sense, but it also means that's not included in the rules. So we're missing out on basically all the stuff that comes from expansions since Shadespire, like magic, like lethal hexes, like the Hunter and Quarry, and all that stuff from Beastgrave and Dire Chasm. So this is a very stripped down, back to basics. Speaking of which, let us look at the rules themselves. So, starts off with a brief overview of the pieces. I will later try and compare this to the Shadespire starter book. and see if this is similar. So it does mention Night Vault. So this basically takes us up to the events of Night Vault, and none of this is in Beastgrave or in Beastgrave. Dire Chasm is within Beastgrave. So I'll compare and see if there's been any changes, but it looks kind of like we're stepping back in time a bit here. Walks you through how to play the game. So again, I'll do a comparison of this to both the current rule set and Dire Chasm. Also quickly look at the original rule set in Shadespire, because like I said, this seems to be essentially Shadespire, but probably with much clearer and more concise rules. Like the wording and stuff has improved a lot since Shadespire to Dire Chasm. So I imagine it's all the more recent wording, and some of the other things like not being able to be driven back in certain situations and stuff like that from Dire Chasm, but stripped of all the magic and the lethal hexes and all the other stuff that's been added on. All right, yep, so here's the end of the rules. Nothing for multiplayer, which makes sense. This is just a starter set. And then you have the new Warbands advertising stuff that you can add on from, Dire Chasm and Beastgrave and Night Vault. Actually, it's only showing you the Dire Chasm and Beastgrave Warbands because I don't think you can get Night Vault anymore. So that makes sense. Essentials card pack. The core sets, which this is the new season starter set that will presumably still come out every year. And then you get the instructions and the glossary and then the reference on the back. So yep, this seems like the current rule set of Underworlds stripped back to a Shadespire era setting, and as far as special rules go, back to Shadespire, but everything up to date with how it works in Dire Chasm. So seems like a really good idea. I'm excited for more people to get into the game, and this can get more people into the game. Hopefully they'll put this, like I said, in places like Barnes & Noble, Target, other places around the world that people who don't already play Games Workshop games will hopefully see this and pick it up and try it out. Alright, so that is the new starter set. So I think I saw this is going to start at $60 in the US, which is, I believe, cheaper than the core sets now. So it's a good starting point. It's obviously missing some things that are in the newer ones. One thing you notice, there's no little baggies in here, which is fine, I guess. Would have been nice to have included those for all the tokens and stuff, especially for people starting out, but it's obviously not a huge loss. So now that's the end of the starter set, but I'm actually going to take a look at the Essentials card pack now. It's not part of this, it's separate, but it's coming out at the same time, and it kind of follows some of the same themes that they're trying to do with this. Alright, so here is the new Essentials card pack, which is coming out at the same time as the starter set. First off, I really like the art, and I really like the packaging. This is a cool way to package the cards, make them interesting. Again, hopefully, if they are selling the starter set in more places than just Games Workshop stores, this will be there right alongside it. It'd be cool if they put out some of the old Warbands too, repackage them with just Warband specific cards, which I know is hard to do in Shadespire and Night Vault Warbands. That'd be a nice way, if you ever went into the Barnes & Noble for like Blitz Bowl, which is a stripped down version of Blood Bowl. They have essentially stripped down versions of the other teams. You get half the players because you don't need as many of them for to play Blitz Bowl compared to Blood Bowl. It'd be a cool thing to do with Underworlds, kind of like a lost leader or whatever. Sell the old Warbands at a slightly cheaper price than the new ones, and just so people who pick up the starter set in non-Games Workshop stores and hopefully pick up this can pick up those as well. Again, I don't know if this is what they're doing at all. It's just my speculation. I think it would be cool. So let's go ahead and open this up. All right, so I got it open. That is an interesting way to package them. So it probably helps it stay in the middle on that. Deck building. Aha. So since the starter set just comes with the cards you need for those 2 decks, it probably doesn't have the rules for how to build your own deck. And if you don't have the other Underworld stuff, and you're just starting off with the starter set and the essentials pack, here are the rules for how to incorporate these new universals into your games. Alright, so just like the cards with the starter set, these are all in a new style. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but my understanding of this is a lot of these are reprints of cards that were taken out of the game. Older ones from Shadespire or Night Vault that were taken out during Dire Chasm. So one thing, if you got Dire Chasm, you notice that the universals that come with are all unique. So it didn't have stuff like Annihilation. This is still in the game currently with Beastgrave, but I would guess that since these universals are meant to stay in the game for, I don't want to say forever, until they come out with the new starter set, which will probably be in at minimum a couple of years. So these are going to stay in the game for a couple of years, stay in rotation even as seasons pass. I got stuff like Annihilation, Conquest, Denial, Hold Objective. Yeah, all of these were missing from Dire Chasm. So like I said, they're currently in Beastgrave, but once Beastgrave rotates out at the start of Season 5, those universals are going to be gone. And that now these are here in that place, so Season 5 won't have to reprint Hold Objective 1. These are here forever going forward. So new artwork on all of these. Making a statement. No remorse. Yeah. Plant a standard. Strong start. Oh, it's good to see some of these back. Hope they have Martyr. I always used Martyr when I was in Godsworn. Supremacy. Tactical Supremacy. So these are, again, are currently, they brought them back in. I think in one of the expansion sets for Beastgrave, but they will cycle out. So those are the objectives. So I'm not super familiar with Confusion. I'm not super familiar with all the card names like some people are, but I recognize a lot of these. Daylight Robbery, it's a good one. Determined Effort, Duel of Wits. So yeah, these are all either universals that were reprinted every season anyway, or some older cards, Healing Potion, nice, that were taken out and presumably are now back in, again, for good. Sidestep, there it was. Waiting for that. I don't know if I saw a distraction in there. That'd be the other one I'd expect. And then upgrades, Army of One, Bag of Tricks, Great Fortitude, Great Speed, Great Strength. So yep, I recognize a lot of these. I'm sure all of these are reprints, I just don't recognize all of them. Maybe they changed some of the names. I do like how they have new artwork on all of them. So it's a nice refresh. They have their own symbol. Presumably that is the universal symbol. Looks like a little galaxy. So that is the expansion cards. I'll go into a bit more detail on them. Most of this picking out some of my favorites in my written review. I just wanted to show you the unboxing of them. So that is the new starter set and the essential cards that come out alongside of it. I'm really excited that they're making this almost more of a core game, because Underworlds really is a great game. It has some of the best models. It really lets them explore exciting poses on existing races and do new races that don't have armies, like the Krenathi and the goblins on the wolves that were taken out with fantasy, and now they're back in Underworlds. So I'm excited that this is hopefully a good sign of Underworlds sticking around for years to come, trying to get more people into it, make it more mainstream, make it more part of the essential Games Workshop games, as it should be. So look for my written review of this later this week. I'll go over it in more detail in there. And until then, I will see you next time.